Good morning, friends. Let's begin with a prayer together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, dearest friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, our friend Swami Kriyananda, humbly we bow before you all and lay the flowers of our devotion gently at thy feet. Receive our love, receive our sincerity, uplift us into thy presence, into the awareness of your love, into harmony with your wisdom. Absorb us in your blissful consciousness. Help us to walk where you lead. Om. Peace. Amen. I'm so grateful to get to spend this time together. I don't know about you, but I look forward to this every week. And it sneaks up on me almost every time. I find myself on Thursday mornings realizing, oh my gosh, I have to pick a song, I have to prepare the song, I have to, have something to say come Friday morning. But it's always like a delightful surprise, sort of like if a young child woke up and realized that tomorrow was Christmas already. That's sort of what it feels like to me when I realize that I get to come share this time with you and share this time with Swamiji and with this music. And we're 18 classes into this so far, and I hope that you've been able to experience some of the transformative vibration of this music, and that you've been able to really take it and incorporate it into your own life and witness for yourself how it can transform your consciousness and uplift your heart's feelings. Because that's really what this is all about. And I've said that many times, but it's well worth keeping to the forefront of our awareness that this music is a bridge to divine consciousness, and it's a way to awaken within you your own highest potential. Each one of us has saintliness within us, and each one of us will be a slightly different flavor of saint. And this music won't make you a cookie cutter image of Swami Kriyananda or of any other saint, but it will introduce you to your own saintliness. And in a way, that's what this song is all about. And it's one of the things that I aspire to when I sing this song and when I hear it sung, that within this song that we're about to hear, there is a divine promise. Not only is there a window of attunement to help us tune into the great ones, into Christ particularly, but any master, but it also is a promise. It's a divine promise of what we too shall become. And in a way, that's sort of what all of Swamiji's music is. It's a promise. And it's the promise that says if you put out your intelligent, creative, guru-guided self-will today, tomorrow you will be closer to that saintliness that you aspire to. And this song, we've titled it today, The Height of Aspiration, because there's few songs that so emphatically declare sort of what the top of the mountain is. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. This is maybe not the first thing you'd think of when you hear this song, but I think it will become evident once we get into it a little bit. So now, without any further explanation or introduction, the song for today is This Is My Son, from the oratorio Christ Lives. And it comes, let's see here, I can't quite remember exactly what number it is, but it's in the first part of the oratorio. It tells the story of the coming of Christ, but it sets the whole story, the oratorio does, and it's really incredible. If you haven't heard it already, I highly encourage you to just go on the internet and search Swami Kriyananda, the oratorio Christ Lives, and block out 2 hours and go listen to it start to finish, or listen to Asha describe and take you through a journey of exploration through that there are many recordings of. And it's really uplifting and transforming. Some of my deepest experiences of spiritual upliftment have come from singing in and participating in that body of music. It's really a blessed experience. And this is one of the songs that falls within that oratorio, the telling of the story of Christ's life. And it's at a really thrilling, pivotal moment in his life that up until this point, Christ hasn't really stepped in and manifested his power yet on the world stage. Even though he's always had that consciousness and that radiance and the power of his own consciousness, this is really right where his mission is about to begin, where he's stepping forward as an adult to claim sort of the dharma of this incarnation, to be a great world teacher. And if we remember the story of Christ, Jesus comes to Jordan, to the river of Jordan, to be baptized by John the Baptist. And it's an incredible scene full of ripe spiritual inspiration. And the song just before this, because an oratorio is the life of Christ told through music, the song just before this one tells of Jesus coming to Jordan to be baptized. And at the end of that, it resounds that a voice from above did declare, so all heard it, "Lo, this is my son." And it's just a thrilling thing to imagine. Imagine that you were there on the riverbanks of the Jordan with Jesus when he appears, and as he's baptized by John the Baptist, this great voice from above says this, that all could hear it, "This is my son." And then the next solo that comes is this piece, "This is my son." And it's God talking to everyone who's there to hear, all who have ears to hear, all who have eyes to see. God is telling them, "This is my son. This is an avatar. This is your pathway out of delusion." What an incredible promise. Just imagine if you were there, and that if you could hear God's voice telling you this, whether inside as the intuitive function of your own heart, or literally perhaps in a divine miracle outwardly. So now, with sort of that as context, let's enjoy this piece of music together. So let's imagine that we're there. Let's visualize even at our mind's eye. Perhaps even you've been there before. But let's visualize the River Jordan. And let's visualize Christ, full of vitality and energy, a young man in his prime, being baptized by John the Baptist, another great avatar. And when he emerges from that river, this is what we hear. This is my son, in whom I am well pleased. Not of himself remains, naught but the true light. Heed well his words, the way he shows is my way. All who would find the truth walk where he leads. This is my son, in whom I am well pleased. Naught of himself remains, naught but the true light. Heed well his words, the way he shows is my way. All who would find the truth walk where he leads. Just feel in your heart for the aspiration, for the wonderment, for the inspiration that comes from this music. All who would find the truth, walk where he leads. I find this piece to be actually deeply moving, and it's so simple that I actually think I'm going to have a hard time talking about it because its words are just so evident to me. But this is, oddly enough, this is a song that I have loved for many years. And just a funny side story about the first time I sang this as a solo. I was about 18 years old, and I was asked to sing this in a concert performance in Los Angeles, and the singer who sang the song just beforehand, who's a little bit more narrative, but then at the end declares, so all heard it, lo, this is my son, is how the previous song ends. It's like a beginning, the first taste of this piece that follows, This Is My Son. And the funny thing was, the man who sang that before me has this incredibly powerful, robust voice. And he sang it, you know, like a basso profundo opera singer, like he could shake on the roof of the church we were in. And then little old me came up, and I'm 18, and I start singing, this is my son. And it was, the dichotomy was so humorous, actually, because the power that I was able to bring to it, but to speak of the power I chose to bring to it, was a very different sort. And it's always stuck in my mind ever since. But it's interesting that, and I think this is actually an important thing to consider, that if one were directing this as like a theater piece, it would be very tempting to, you know, sing this song as intensely and powerfully and with a big robust voice and hear the trumpets blast in the background, because after all, this is an uncommon circumstance. This is literally God speaking. And I think in the entire oratorio, it maybe only happens this one time. I'd have to go back and check. But just in the canon of Swami Kriyananda's music, it's uncommon that it's literally God speaking. And there are a few others, but this one is in a, you know, a pretty small group of those pieces of music. But to me, this melody is so simple and is so sweet and is so understated. And the way Swami sings it in the recordings is guileless, just completely soft and open. And when I sing this piece in that way, it has so much power, has so much transformative energy to me. And I sang it that day in that performance, and I was so deeply moved by it that it's sort of come to mind occasionally throughout the years hence, and I'll just sing it over and over and over. I remember once I was working on a very mundane project. I was cleaning the ashram, and it was taking me, you know, just enormous amounts of time, and was sort of seemingly like the trials of Sisyphus pushing a rock that would never end. But I sang this song over and over, and in particular, a few of the lines would really stick out to me and would inspire my heart so deeply I would begin to weep as I was sitting there scrubbing a floor. And I wish I could just help give you that experience through this music. But that line, not of himself remains, not but the true light. Just sing that line over and over. Isn't that what we're all aiming for? That we're all aiming for not of himself remains, meaning none of my little ego remains. Nothing but the true light. That, as Yogananda said, I killed Yogananda long ago, none dwell in this temple now but God. And the music paints for us a promise of what that will feel like. And what it feels like is joy. What it feels like is love and just perfect, the completion of all of our heart's aspirations. It doesn't feel like a loss, or it doesn't feel like we're losing anything at all. And so we should sing a line like this and remember what it is that we're trying to become. We're trying to become like the great ones. We're trying to get to that point where God can say, this is my son. Or that when we die, Yogananda will come and introduce us to the great God and say, this is my son, in whom I am well pleased. Naught of himself remains, naught but the true light. Heed well his words. The way he shows is my way. All who would find the truth, walk where he leads. And this is such an incredible invitation, both for us to tune into the great ones, but also as the height of our own personal aspiration, that this is what we will become. And I would sing this song over and over, and whenever I would get to sing it in performance, I was very lucky that often there was a picture of Yogananda that I could look at. And it was so beautiful to get to sing this song looking into the eyes of an avatar, because it's describing them. This is what an avatar is. And if you tread where he trods, you too will find that way. It's just a magnificent piece of music. Let's hear it now together on the cello, because its melody is also, it just plays with the yearning of the heart for a noble end. And I absolutely adore it. I don't have much else to say other than that. So let's take a listen, and you can write to me your impressions of what you think the melody has. Let's pause for a moment, and in the stillness after this melody and the open-heartedness that it brings, let's visualize, bring to mind Christ at your point between the eyebrows, at the spiritual eye, and let's visualize his eyes in particular. And let's feel his blessings pouring over you. All who would find the truth, walk where he leads. This song, in a way, could be used as an invocation of the grace of Christ or any avatar. If you sang this just looking at the Master or thinking of the Master, can you feel it? I don't really have any other words to put to it than there's just like a space of grace that descends after singing this piece. And I hope you can feel it too. And if you can't, try listening to it, try singing it, try bathing in it until it begins to permeate your consciousness, and then see just what it's introducing you to. It's such a short song, and in the oratorio, it lasts all of 30 seconds. And so that's why I've been playing it twice and singing it twice, so we can really get into it a little bit. When we actually perform it, it goes by so fast, it's kind of like getting just a little taste of ice cream. You wish you could have a little bit more. And so we have the joy of getting able to sing it over and over. But let's take a look at just a few of the notes that when we sing them, we can sort of feel the devotional yearning, and how these notes help us to open our heart. So let's take another look together. Let's take a look at my favorite phrase, "Not of himself remains." No, how does that go? Not of himself remains, not but the true light. Isn't that last phrase, "not but the true light," doesn't it just make your heart melt like butter? It's making you yearn so much for that final resolution, which is brilliant in so many musical ways, but I don't even need to describe them from a technical perspective. Like, we can hear the tension and resolution, the yearning and the freedom that this phrase explores. Not but. Can you hear that second note, how it's just below the first, and therefore it creates this tension that it's not quite where we're going, but then we hear where we're going in the next notes. Not but the true. And it's here, we haven't yet found our point yet, but it's pointing us ever towards that place. Not but the true light. And it's brilliant because we hold that second to last note in light, and it could almost end there, but it doesn't. It resolves into that perfect light. It's like the music is telling us how to dissolve into the perfect light. Not of himself remains, not but the true light. And then the next note is back to the beginning, the origin of the song, the tonic, which has great power. Heed well his words, the way he shows is my way. All who would find the truth walk where he leads. And again, we can hear these wonderful notes of tension and relaxation happening in these last lines. All who would find the truth. Listen to this note. Walk where he leads. That note on the word where is so tender. Walk where he leads. Let's sing that together. All who would find the truth, walk where he leads. And that's our promise. This is our road home. Do you want to find the truth? Does your heart yearn to be naught but the true light? Naught of himself remains? And if so, heed well his words. The way he shows is my way, meaning God's way. All who would find the truth, walk where he leads. What an immortal promise this song is, and an incredible place in the journey of Christ's life. And it's fun when we sing this song to remember the context of his life and where it is that we're singing this. Because like I mentioned, up until now, the song just before this is him coming to be baptized. His mission is about to begin. And the song immediately after this is actually his temptation. So first he gets the benedictions, the blessings of God, saying that this is my son, and now it's about to begin. And then he goes and he faces the devil, he faces Satan, and then his real magnetism begins to go out and expand and bless and guide humanity as he steps in to fulfill his world dharma that we are familiar with now. But just what a wonderful moment of his life to get to tune into. This piece of music is like a time machine into that moment, that when you sing this song, it's like you're sitting on the banks of the Jordan with Christ when he's baptized, and you get to hear that voice of God, for that's what this song is. And we get to be with him in that moment. We get to bask in the glory and the blessings of the divine. And it's just such a wonderful thing to be able to do. And if you want to walk where he leads, if you want to tune into his consciousness more, sing this song with the remembrance of this moment of his life. And you could even ask Christ, introduce me. Show me what it was like when you were baptized. Help me to feel the grace that flowed through that moment. And then you could do that with every moment in his life through the oratorio. And I bet you would have a much deeper relationship with him at the end of that experience, don't you think? So let's sing the whole song one more time together, but let's practice this just once. So let's sit up straight. And let's calm the heart. And let's bring to mind and visualize Jesus Christ. Seeing his eyes, feeling his blessings, and most importantly, feeling his magnetism and his love in your heart. And let's ask him to show us, what was it like when you were baptized? Help us to receive the blessings of that great moment and inspire us to set our sights on that same pinnacle of self-realization. This is my Son, in whom I am well pleased. Naught of himself remains, naught but the true light. Heed well his words, the way he shows is my way. All who would find the truth, walk where he leads. friends, for joining me. This week, let's walk where He leads. And let's allow this song to be our compass, our pole star, the magnet that draws us into that remembrance and into the great power that Christ has to give to all of us. God bless you, and I hope to see you next week.